some of the history of the music that is considered to be bluegrass music. And I've decided to kind of place the workshop into 3 segments. The first segment will be kind of informational, where we share information. The second, more of a demonstration, where we demonstrate some of the things that were taking place and that we talked about. And third, participation in a circle with musicians that want to jam along with us with some music. Scattered throughout will be kind of some audience participation things, some guest artists, and if we just begin thinking in terms of what has been advertised and marketed concerning this workshop, it's called The History of Gospel Bluegrass Music. Now, Whitney Phipps is a black man who has sung for many presidents of the United States at the White House, and he has been one of the favorites of the Martin Luther King family members when they have various promotionals for their organization. He is called upon, and he is from Caribbean heritage. As you know, the slave trade went from West Africa to the Caribbean islands and on to mainland United States. And one of the things he said in some of his documentation is well known, that most spirituals from the black perspective, what used to be called Negro spirituals, black spirituals, were joined together with the old African pentatonic scale. And sometimes the 7th was flatted. We call that more of a blues type of notation. As we think in terms of gospel, it comes from the concept in the Bible where Paul said, I'm not ashamed of the gospel. What he was saying is, I'm not ashamed of the good news about God through Jesus Christ. He also said, teach and help one another along the right road with your hymns and psalms and spiritual songs. Well, in the United States, this could be very difficult because fiddles and banjos were considered to be music and tools of the devil. So also the historical aspect of the slave trade challenged the cultural interactions of individuals and groups of individuals. So therefore the slave songs emerged. And the slave songs, many were very spiritual in nature, many were work-oriented in nature. But beginning in the 1600s, the banjo was played on plantations in America. Thomas Jefferson was one of the first to document it fairly extensively in the 1700s. The banjo was used at social gatherings and worship services during slave time. Now, many of the songs were coded. They were escape songs, like Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, Coming for to Carry Me Home. That was talking about escaping the plantation. Some of my ancestors in mid-Missouri drowned in their attempt to cross the Missouri River as fugitives, trying to escape slavery. And other songs like Steal Away to Jesus. Jesus was the name of a certain slave ship, and they were talking about going back onto that slave ship and somehow going back to Africa where they came from. Steal away to Jesus. And then you have the work song, he was a wobbling and a squabbling, A grizzly bear, he was a wobbling and a scrubbing. Grizzly bear, he was a puffing and a blowing. The grizzly bear. And while they were doing this, they were actually chopping to the cadence of the song. And it was a slow chop. 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 Because you had to do it from sun up to sundown. Sun up to sundown, picking that cotton. Sun up to sundown, whipped by the master. Sun up to sundown, chains and shackles. No more auction block for me. Wow. Wow. Integrated with all this was music from the immigrants of the British Isles. Bill Monroe was one who was a descendant of the British Isle immigration. And some of you know that he is known as the father of bluegrass music. When I was talking to Bill Monroe about a particular individual named Arnold Schultz, who was a black blues guitar artist in his community that strongly influenced Bill Monroe's music, Bill Monroe confirmed that Arnold Schultz was one of his mentors, one of his influences. And you had the escape songs, the runaway songs, you had the work songs, you had black composers, like the song Maple on the Hill by the Stanley Brothers was composed by a black songwriter. Arkansas Traveler was composed by a black songwriter. Along with many others, we have so many influences. But the slave songs were a big influence on the camp meeting songs and a big influence on the gospel music of America, along with some surprises that we'll talk about later. Take, for example, the song Take This Hammer. Now I'm going to say Take This Hammer, and I want you to go, wow! Take this hammer,
Why?
carry it to the captain.
Why?
Take this hammer,
Why?
carry it to the captain.
Why?
Take this hammer,
Why?
carry it to the captain.
Why?
Tell him I'm gone,
Why?
tell him I'm gone.
Why?
Hammer, ring, 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 hammer, ring.
Why?
Hammer, ring, 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 hammer, ring.
Why?
So the themes that were found in these songs dealt with daily toil, weariness, suffering, sorrow, sadness, spirituality, loss, hope. And they worked as proverbs that extended into a psychological release in order to survive. And be it freedom or death, freedom was one of the main themes of these particular songs. Oh, 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 freedom! Oh, freedom! Oh, freedom for me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Go down, oh Hannah! What would that be talking about? Go down, oh Hannah! Is it talking about someone he was longing to see? What do you think it's talking about? Go down, oh Hannah. Somebody.
Escaping.
Good thought. Good thought. Somebody else. Don't be afraid to talk. Good thought. Somebody else. One more. Just guess.
Trade.
I like those. I like those. It's talking about the sun. Go down, oh Hannah, because you wanted sundown to come, because the days were long. Day after day after day, month after month after month, year after year after year. And Whitney Phipps said there is no music like that music, no drama like that drama of slaves toiling, saints rejoicing, banjos ringing, and all the voices coming together crying, holy unto the Lord. Now the banjo in America has been associated with the culture of the descendants from Europe. There are people that call to mind Confederate flags when they think of a banjo or banjo music. But as some of you know, the banjo can be traced directly to Africa. There are many banjo type of instruments in the Caribbean, many banjo type instruments in America, and it basically consisted of a calabash gourd with a skin stretched over it and a stick, and 2 or 3 strings up to 5, 6 strings attached to the stick or the neck. But always was the drum. The drum was always part of the banjo, and up to this day there's a drum on every banjo. But many plantations did not permit the slaves to play drums. It was against the slave codes and regulations, and the